Hey guys, former UFC champ, UFC Hall of Famer Pat Miletich here again with another episode of Super Soil, Superhuman. And you're lucky because I'm joined again by the guest I had on last week. This is Steve Moore, arguably the number one top soil reclamation expert in the country, certainly expert at non-chemical agriculture, which is the way it should be done, and also top dog, Dr. Will Spencer. Both guys experts in soil to human health, and that's what the show is about. And we got two of the best guys on the entire planet today, so it's great to have you guys back.
Yes,
I can't shake them. I can't get rid of them. And
but a good fleet right there.
Yes. So we were last time we were doing the show, we were in South Dakota at the Red Pill Expo, right? And had a great experience there. But this week we're in Oklahoma on a ranch that is in really, really bad shape. And both these guys, the experts, are analyzing the soil and looking at the animals. The bison are very sick. And Steve, if you want to just throw in, and then you can add on, Will, about the condition of the bison here and how that reflects the health of the soil.
Well, when we got here, what we did is do an evaluation. You look at what's growing on the paddocks where the buffalo are ranging, or the buffalo roam, as the story goes. So running that gives us a foundation of mirroring the health of the animal, because driving through the paddocks, looking at the buffalo with lesions and bones and ribs showing on these buffalo, it's standing in what appeared to be waist-high vegetation, was just kind of shocking to me. Of all the places in the world that I go to, this is an example of what you don't want. And it's obvious after we start doing this. And one of the steps that we take is identifying the healing plants, or the weeds that grow on a ranch like this. And you pull all of those to figure out what the sickness or the deficiency is in the soil. So we ran a handful of the weeds and came up with a criteria of what the soil is lacking, because the principles of the weeds are healing plants that are uniquely grown by extracting the nutrients that the soil does not have to actually heal it. So if you have enough time and you're growing these weeds are reincorporated into the ground, then you can actually heal the soil. It's a divine blueprint healing itself, but it takes too long. And these animals are now in fenced-in areas. If they weren't in fenced-in areas, they would roam out of here and go find what they really need.
Probably about 500 miles away.
At least.
At least. The soil here, needless to say, is in that bad of shape. And it looks like we've been asked to come here to, fix the situation, fix this. So, Will, do you want to elaborate on the weeds, all of the components of God's power or nature trying to heal that soil through those weeds?
We've stepped on an absolute wonderful example of nature happening here, trying to heal something, or not trying. It's in the middle of the process, or the beginning, because the elements that the weeds are pulling from the air are exactly the elements that are missing in the soil. And they're also the elements missing out of the buffalo. The bodies of the buffalo are missing these things, and their vitality is just above death. In response, you can see the open sores on their back, attracting the flies and other things. And some of them, they just couldn't even get up when we went close to them. They just laid there, just kind of shaking. They couldn't even get up. So
they're bags of bones, they look like homeless dogs that haven't been fed for a week.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Yes, they look
very emaciated.
Emaciated. Yes, very, very bad. So they're a product of the soil they're forced to live on. And so that's where we started with right there. So
and how that relates to, for people out there, when they talk about herbal teas and all these types of things for people, well, we've got nutrient deficiencies as well. Doc Will, how many scans have you done on people?
Over 21,000 now, and every single one is nutrient deficient.
So Americans are just flat out nutrient deficient. And there's a massive amount of toxins as Steve's tests and your tests.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's got toxins. And this isn't just the North America. This is 5 continents that we scan on. Everybody that we scan has the same problem: nutritional deficiencies and toxicity.
So the heavy metals and chemicals from industrial, agriculture, personal care items, even lawn care, golf courses. It's just a toxic environment.
And the toxins from the infections, the parasites and fungus and stuff. They're adding to the toxicity internally.
Right. So that's the situation that we're dealing with in terms of sick bison living on sick land. But again, making an herbal tea, if you're deficient in certain components of nutrients, and that herb happens to have those nutrients, that's why it's for your body, right? Same example.
You end up, what we're trying to do is read the weeds to what we need to concentrate our organic mineral blends that are extracted from decomposed vegetation. It can be oxidized coal to humates to ocean salts, everything that we can run across that happened in nature.
Volcanic rock.
Yeah, for the paramagnetics to all of these items we have access to, we blend it together to accelerate the restoration of these soils so we don't have to wait. And these buffalo aren't going to wait at all anyway. So in the interim of this restoration process, we have to fill their feed bunks or their mineral bunks up with basically the same thing that we're going to be putting on the ground so they can get it directly into their body. And that's what segues into why the health food supplements they're just inundated all over the world. Everybody has some magic that they say that they have to fill those voids. So we're actually doing the testing. We know exactly what is deficient in the soil to bring it up to be sustainable and bring up the energetic life force of not only the buffalo, but the pasture that they're on, because it's a direct reflection, the same way you're only as healthy as the food you eat. So again, it's the environment determines the expression of the gene.
Yeah, so it's like when we're here at the ranch and we're observing the buffalo, there's hardly any wildlife on this entire ranch. This is thousands of acres. We've seen 2 deer the entire time that we've been here. That tells you the deer don't want to be here to eat anything because they know it's not healthy. There's no nutrients and it's potentially, obviously, toxic. So when you go to the grocery store, and I'm talking to all Americans out there, you might be the one that's sick. We're all sick to a certain extent because of our environment, but some of us are managing a little bit better than others because we're aware of the environment, how to get the environment out of us and put real nutrients in, all those sort of things. But it's the same thing as us looking at the buffalo here and seeing them sick on sick soil is going to the grocery store or to the mall and seeing obese Americans, deformed Americans, mentally ill Americans, and all of that going on. It's the exact same thing as looking at a pasture here, right?
Exactly. I mean, you can thank your food intake and supplement intake for your state of health.
Yeah. Really? So I want to go back to paramagnetics because Steve mentioned that, and I'll let you elaborate on it. But not only do the paramagnetics paired with the right biology, microorganisms that can break those things down over time, feed the soil and the plants, the crops, their nutrients, proper balance of nutrients, but also stops compaction because of the paramagnetic principle, right? And
that's part of it. Yeah. The mineral imbalance or the mineral balance.
There isn't any form of life in the soil when you have a compaction because there's no oxygen, moisture that can penetrate or go through it. And that's from having a calcium to magnesium ratio that is like having a North Pole magnet and a South Pole magnet, and they're attracted. So if you have like charges, they repel. And that's what we're trying to do is get the ratio between magnesium and calcium at a broader spectrum, like 7-to-1 ratio rather than a 1-to-1. And that's usually the driver, as well as trying to, fracture the soil to actually get the right minerals in place instead of having them try to leach down through it. So there's a process. It's not real easy, but if you go through it and you get it started, then let the biology that we inoculate the soil with to re-inoculate it and get it balanced because of all these adversities. Look at the buffalo that are on it. That's not a good genetic expression we're looking for, nor is the biology in the soil, because the minerals and nutrients to sustain that aren't there present anyway. So you have to add correct the environment with the biology that goes with it. And that's the same thing in our gut. We're eating these foods and everybody's selling probiotics and stuff to try to get your gut to work because you're eating all these things that are killing or not supporting the indigenous organisms in your gut. This is the soil. So if the soil is balanced and healthy, the plant's healthy, the animals are healthy, and if we consume the animal, then we're healthy, or if we consume the vegetation, then we're healthy. We're just a direct reflection, and we're looking at buffalo. They're just like a bunch of people that I run onto and test all the time, as well as Will. Yeah. I test hundreds of people constantly, and we find exactly what Pat's talking about. Mineral deficiency, parasites, worms, candida, fungus in the gut, imbalances in the pineal gland because of the foods you've been fossilized or calcifying the pineal gland, which there's so much of this correlation. We look at that because it's the same thing that's happening in these buffalo. They actually have a pineal gland that doesn't work when it's out of whack too.
And if Americans didn't live in houses like they do and wear clothes like they did, they'd have lesions all over them from the flies eating them too.
Well, they do. They have rashes that break out,
gut infections.
They're loaded with it. They either mask it, hide it, put some cream on it, and think they're taking care of it. But it's an internal problem. The divine blueprint isn't flawed. We're the ones that are flawed, thinking we're superior, that we know what we're doing, and we have a product that somebody recommended. And Will and I run scalar frequency testing to identify these things, because it's the quantum world that we're living in. And it's not just do a chemistry test at some lab on my blood. I want to know what the energetic value of my blood is, or my body, how my organs are functioning. So it's a different paradigm of the window that we look out to solve a problem than the one that everybody else is stuck with right now.
Yeah. A perfect example also, in my home state of Iowa, Palo Alto County, they've been in the headlines a lot recently for exploding cancer rates and illnesses up in that county. And they're talking about agriculture. They're pointing the finger at agriculture right now because of all the chemicals that have been used up there. And I had a couple conversations with county board of supervisors, I guess is the best way to look at it, is their term, like a city council almost, but county. And a couple of them were very accommodating and very interested in what I was saying about soil health and that the environment is causing these illnesses. And then they pointed me towards another person. I had a conversation with him, and he flat out said, "I'm not interested in anything you have to say." And that was the end of the conversation. Then I called back the other county supervisor that I had talked to previously, and I said, "Is he by chance a big ag guy? Is he a farmer?" And all of that. And she goes, "Oh yeah, so he's scared. He's in fear. Yeah. Maybe he's thinking, well, what I've been doing may be causing these illnesses, and I might be liable for that." So the farmers, look, they've all been agronomists, farmers. Everybody's been educated on these chemicals. And when we go back and I think I talked a little bit about this in the last episode, but when we go back in history, all of these chemicals are for war machines and war weapons, every single one of them, right? All of these chemicals throughout history have primarily been used for weapons of war.
Fighting an enemy. When the enemy is actually trying to send us a message on what's going on. So
elaborate on that. Yeah.
The Department of Ag, their mentality is we have to kill the enemy, which is weeds and pests, when the weeds and pests are nature trying to let us know, hey, there's a problem over here. And so we're just tapping into the natural order, the blueprint, like Steve just said, and we're working with nature to let us know what's missing, so then we can fill the void. And then what happens? Well, vibrant health, vitality just goes up, and immunity goes up, and then we have happy, healthy soil and bison and hopefully people.
Yeah. So when bugs are eating a corn crop, for instance, They want to go out and spray the pesticides to kill the bugs, when actually it's the immune system of the plant that can be fixed by putting nutrients and biology in the soil.
Well, it's the immunity of the plant that's calling in the bugs because the plant is unhealthy growing in a monoculture. And it's saying, come eat me, I'm unhealthy. And then the war machine tries to kill the bugs doing their job, when a healthy plant will just repel the bugs and the bugs won't even be there. I witnessed it in many trials of my own.
So what you're saying is the corn plants are like a limping elderly wildebeest going past a pack of lions.
Yeah, and the lions are the bugs just coming in to recycle it because because nature does not support unhealth and weak.
Right.
So
at all.
The mechanism that we monitor in the plant, when the general vitality goes down, the Brix reading, which is the sap of the plant that carries the fluid throughout, like our bloodstream, is the sugar levels go down. The Brix readings, that's where the energy comes from. When the Brix readings are lower, the plant goes into a stress situation, and they actually go into like a decomposition, which will give off ammonia, like any other, like even the exudate of an animal or a human, it has ammonia in it. Well, the plant is actually giving off ammonia, which is signaling the insects that we are a piece of crap and you're going to come and eat it.
Need to fix us.
Well, so they'll go in and get rid of that plant because it's not fit for animal or humans. So they're doing us a job. They're doing what we want them to do. We want them to clean up the garbage, but we're killing the messenger, like Will was talking about, whether it's the weed that is telling us the soil is lacking these certain things. And if you're knowledgeable in herbology, you would know that's why a lot of the chefs and everybody's changing foods around and adding all of the things because you can't get any flavor from the food. It's actually putrefied. It shouldn't even be food except for the insects. So what we do as humans, we kill the messenger, whether it's the weed or the insect, and then we're so stupid you eat that food.
Eat the crap and end up like the buffalo.
Yeah. We're malnutrition. We got the hospitals full of everything. We don't have an immune system. We have no reserve energy because there's frequencies that we test the parameters of hundreds of different aspects of the human anatomy and its function, whether it's an organ of blood or a particular reaction that we may or may not have, or are we carrying parasites, or what level is carcinoma, because we all have it. We have it dormant if our immune system is working and our system is healthy. It won't do anything. It sits there. But we have the ability. God's divine blueprint is we're not flawed again. Just give it the tools for it to work and we'll be fine.
And so we can relate now to human beings in terms of genetic expression from environment, because every plant, animal will, the genetic expression, as you've mentioned, is dictated by the environment. And so for human beings, for instance, we see a lot of talk about, the gene altering, the CRISPR technology, all of this stuff, this crazy stuff. Oh, we can maybe snip here and put a new piece in because humans' genetics are messed up, the DNA is screwed up. Well, the environment has done damage generation after generation to our DNA, but there are compounds out there to assist in repairing damaged DNA so that we don't have these immune-related issues, right?
Right. Yeah, a big one nowadays is the MTHR gene that I'm seeing pop up quite often, which is just the result of malnutrition and a parasite infection. And then you have the body expressing that genetic expression of the MTHR. It's kind of like THC in cannabis or hemp. It's an emergency, basically a signal being given off. So the higher the THC, the more the stress the plant is under. So it'll produce more THC as a mechanism. Same with the MTHR. So you feed the plant what it needs to be healthy. You feed the person, the human, what it needs to be healthy. And that gene will turn off, just like in cannabis. If you feed that plant what it needs to be vibrantly healthy, it's going to downregulate the THC down and then upregulate the terpenes and all the other aspects of the plant. So you're going to get a more broader spectrum of things showing up in the plant. And in humans, no different. the MTHR, that's just a signal going, oh, there's something wrong here. I'm going to die. And because we monitor that with our technology, so we can be really clear at what we're giving the person, the human or the plant, to then see what signals turn off and what signals turn on.
Right. And we've also been talking a lot about potentially turning this piece of land, this ranch, into, if we do take this on, which is still to be decided, comes down to also creating a documentary, because this is a perfect example of how, guys, this soil out here is literally even nutrient deficient coal, shale, right? I mean, we were going around and just pulling it off the ground, and there's weeds and mediocre grass growing.
Well, there's hardly any grass.
Right.
So when we're running the test here, we probably should explain a little bit. I'll share this with you. We have an energetic vibration that we all put off, and to get this instrumentation that we work with in a scalar energetic world that we are in, picks up that ELF, extremely low frequency. And it's kind of like looking at a light bulb that is a 10-watt light bulb or a 300-watt light bulb. Humans are basically the same thing, and this instrumentation is able to pick up that vibrant energy of light, so to speak, or the deficiency of that. And it's actually easy when you start to understand it. And I've been working with it for 3 decades, more than that. And it's just amazing where we go with it, and how you can monitor what's going on, and how to find the right supplements, minerals, whatever it is, quantify them first, and then find out if they're even fit for you, because that's the biggest disaster I've ever seen. It's just inundated. I've had so many clients come to me that we put they bring a box or a bag full of bags of all the supplements that they bought. And you're just looking, forget the money that you're looking at that's not any good or wasted. So when we run them, we compare it to their energy field. And some of them a lot of them are just garbage. It actually makes them sicker than what they were. It lowers their general vitality and their responses in different organal areas, whether it's the liver or the lungs or the kidneys or whatever. It's not what it should be, and they're spending money with a false sense of security, and they'll just swear by it. Oh, I've been taking this. Will hears it all the time, and Pat, you've experienced it. I've experienced it because I spend thousands of dollars a year buying things like that, not for my use, but to find out who the heck is getting the right results or creating these products. So there isn't any thought. It's all in marketing. How much lipstick you can put on a pig to make it look good.
Yeah, and you see a lot of
it's sick.
Just after, for me, 38 years of doing this stuff and seeing the vast majority of supplements out there aren't going to do anything, and actually some will actually injure you and damage you, and that we're all in this pursuit because the entire supplement industry wouldn't exist if our soil was healthy and what we were eating was packed with nutrients, and we weren't using toxic chemicals and heavy metals in the environment. So in the meantime, you've got to find, how do we find the best stuff, the best, purest substances? What were your, if we're going to go plant-based or whatever the heck it is you're doing, or meat-based, you're doing a carnivore or whatever you're going to do, it's not, they talk about we are what we eat. Well, what did your food eat is really what it always comes down to. That's that's the easy way, to look at it, right?
It is. And we've run so many of the clients of ours, because I do soil remediation in agriculture, environmental cleanups, take oil spills on land or in the water, and completely change that restoration and utilize all of the nutrients in there. And we're able to then change those environments to where they do produce the right kind of energetic life force that we're all looking for. So in testing people, That's the fundamental of it is first checking how they're living. Bring me what you're already taking. Tell me how you're eating. And they say, oh, I'm on this diet. I'm on that diet. I don't care what diet you're on because you're still going to eat. It either required you're on a vegetarian diet, you're on a keto, you're on something that was fed food either on a farm setting, or you raised the food and you fed some animal that they say they want you to eat. It's not blaming the animal and it's not blaming the vegetarian. It's blaming the soil because all life begins from that. And actually, more importantly, it doesn't even begin from organic material. It begins from rock energy. So we always, we share this among ourselves, singing to the choir, so to speak. But the lava that is created on the Pacific Islands or Hawaii or Fuji, I've tested soils all over the place. That high paramagnetic that we mentioned earlier is a prime thing to listen to at work. And this is how you're going to witness it. And then you're going to go, oh, aha. So the lava is still pouring up out of Hawaii, one of the islands, all the time. What happens is the whole island, let's look back in time, was all that lava above the water level. The mist from the ocean and different things has grown on this because of the high susceptibility to Earth's magnetic field. Example is you have some lava and you can actually take a Gauss magnet and it'll stick right to it. So what our atmosphere has that energy field of the magnetic field. We have a north and a south pole. Is that correct? Okay. Now the plant life is the antenna where the soil is, or the rock mineral has a high level of that. If enough vegetation lived and died on the lava, then you have an organic matter. But it's not the organics that has all the energy that you want to just say, I'm an organic farmer. You want to make sure you have the highest paramagnetic level to tap into the physics aspect of complementing that environment. I'm trying not to make it sound too complicated, but the combination of this is what allows that plant that's going to grow in that organic matter with a base of nice paramagnetic rock. Those colloidal minerals coming off of the rock go up into the vascular of the plant. Now the plant is an antenna, just as we are. So now the plant is absorbing atmospheric nutrients. And this is what hopefully you've had an opportunity to be in the mountains on a hike, and you've seen trees that will grow out of the rock surface and grow up like an antenna. There's no root area that's exposed to soil or water, like a basin and a low area. It's strictly getting all of its nutrition from the atmosphere. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we have a huge mountain behind us, Sandia Mountain, and it's a big granite rock. You can take a magnet and go set it on the side of that anywhere on the rock, and it'll just stay there. So there's trees and stuff that grow all over these rock crevices and the sides and faces of the mountain. No soil at all. You can't get an agronomist to go out there and pull a soil sample. There is none. You have to be connected to what we're talking about. This is what we've been doing for 25, 30 years, is trying to educate the educators. And because it wasn't programmed into the whole system to complement, it's the conspiracy theory concept, but it's real. And I hope that it isn't.
Seems to me all the conspiracy theories are the real stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. I'm trying to whitewash it a little bit.
There's a point here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
Steve was just talking about the plant being the antenna. There's this big craze going on right now called electroculture, where they're taking copper wires and doing all kinds of weird designs and things. That is just an indication of how nutrient deficient the soil and the plants are, because the plants are supposed to be the antennae.
That's correct.
And so then people are putting these copper coils in the soil, pulling the electricity, and then feeding the plant. So they're actually if you're getting benefit from that, that's actually
A
a
sign.
symptom or a sign that your soil and plants are extremely deficient because those minerals, the copper, should be in the soil and the plant doing that. And you have had immense experience
Yes.
under power lines growing amazing crops
Underneath.
underneath power
very
lines, high tensils. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So that copper, great. I'm glad you brought that up because even at that, it's a good backyard playground thing to play with, as an experiment. It's not scalable. You don't do anything like that. And that soil primarily is lacking copper,
Right.
just like we do it with a weed. We found 4 or 5 weeds out here, or 3 or 4, that had a spike in copper, but they were deficient in a bunch of other things. So they were drawing the real copper out, or the copper out of the atmosphere, playing the same role that Will just explained about sticking a copper rod in a coil to set up a harmonics or some energy to pull it in. That's an electric current, but there's also copper they use because all copper is, hardly anybody puts copper on any agriculture other than possibly a foliar application.
Right.
So copper controls the vascular flow of the sap in the plant and the blood in an animal or a human. Why are we not using it?
Right. And so,
That's it.
yeah, and I'll let you guys elaborate on this. The paramagnetics, which are rocks, which assist in the non-compaction of the soil, the nutrients, the organic matter, which has been broken down from, whatever composting you do, but also the microorganisms, the very durable, very aggressive microorganisms that are going to be in the soil, also breaking down the minerals like the paramagnetics and things over a period of time, right?
Yes, you need them.
You have to have that balance. So it's not, this is a perfect chance for me, and you can elaborate on this, Will, is that you see mineral supplements all over the place, vitamin minerals, most are synthetic vitamins, and the minerals have not gone through the process of the digestion of the microorganisms in the soil, so they're not usable really. You're not going to get anything out of it, right?
So there's natural synthetics, if you will, like rock dust. You got your calcium phosphate, all these different, these things you're buying in bottles and pills on the shelf, which is basically ground up rock dust, which most of them are not digestible. We don't digest rocks unless, even if they're ground fine, they're not usable if we don't have the bugs inside of them.
They'll just add to the weight of your bowel movement, of your bowel movements.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah. So it's about and again, this is the
colloidal breakdown from the inside.
Exactly. That's where I was going with this. So we look for the colloidal, meaning the ores, minerals, and whatnot that have been already processed through organisms into like a humic matter, like Steve was talking about. So then we can actually use it. I mean, that's what we're after. The high vibrancy, high bioelectrical chemical availability, all of that availability, not just here is this ground up rock dust. Yes, there's calcium phosphate in here to this milligrams. You should take it. We're much more of a complicated organism than just putting that gas in that engine and then we get to go somewhere.
Right. So let's talk about human health a little bit with people who are able to help themselves right now, that will end things with that. So that we're about solutions, right? And
absolutely.
Also, virginfarming.com, where people can go and learn a lot about what Steve's doing. I'm telling you, this guy is a whole nother level of knowledge and information when it comes to soil and human health. So go to virginfarming.com and check that out. And then we'll talk about these 3 products, which is the human regeneration kit, right? Well, so the Mineral King, which is a fulvic humic acid, what we've found through all the experts that I've had look at it anyway and analyze it for human consumption is that it's the most bioavailable, most water soluble, and nutrient dense fulvic humic.
It's right there at the top. Yeah.
Right. And then, Will, you can go ahead and explain 100 Plus and Method Blue and explain what they do for people. I'll elaborate on Mineral King.
So you have food, you have minerals, humic and fulvic acid,
which are bioavailable,
bioelectrical, chemically available right here. But the little key to that is you got to have the critters in you.
Probiotics.
Probiotics. And these are not your everyday run-of-the-mill probiotics. These are soil organisms, hundreds of strains, and they should be in us. But they're not in us. They're not in our environment anymore because
The soil's been destroyed with chemicals.
industrialization, right?
Right.
And so then to add
And those monitor your systems.
yeah, those are chelating. Those are helping aiding in digestion. Those are all these different things happening. You got to have those. That's part of your immune system. I mean, it's just.
And the humate's a great chelator.
And there's also soil organisms in there.
Right,
As well. So,
to assist in
Right.
removing toxins out of your body while feeding
Yeah.
your cells and mitochondria.
yep. And then the kicker is the methylene blue, which a lot of people have heard about that. Methylene, go online. Methylene blue has been around since the 1800s. It actually got taken out of the Merck manual when
Mr.
Rockefeller and that whole team pushed it out. It's just another thing to aid in cognitive functioning, cellular respiration and oxygen health, infections like urinary tract infections, prostate issues, and
Nervous system.
nervous system. Absolutely, it aids it aids your nerves and all of the functioning in your central nervous system. Amazing. Just look it up. There's a lot of information about methylene blue.
So people can go, and people can go to mineralking.life to be able to get this human regeneration kit. Those 3 components, super important. So mineralking.life, and then also for Steve Moore, virginfarming.com. So mineralking.life, virginfarming.com. Check those sites out and assist yourself, or as they said in a movie, help me help you. Thanks again, and we'll see you guys again next Monday.
Thank you.